Hello everyone, Forest Focus. As Nottingham Forest fans anxiously await further news on Taiwo Awoniyi after his horrible injury against Leicester City. So a slightly different show today then, as I'm joined by former Reds winger Paul Anderson, which reflects on news the striker was reported placing an induced coma ahead of further surgery on rupturing his intestine. Paul, good to have you with us. We arranged this a couple of days ago, obviously, so not the normal circumstances we talk in, but how are you doing today?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Appreciate you having me back on. So yeah, nice to be able to talk a little bit about how things are at Forest at the minute.
Yes, we'll get on to that obviously, and reflect on a couple of football matters. We'll start with Taiwo though. Obviously, I mean, he's got a young family. You've got a young family. We're all human, and sometimes we forget that as fans. So it's an awful situation all around, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it's not nice, and forget football and anything in life when something like that happens. All you think about is the person and the family, obviously, and especially when there's not that it should make a difference, but when there is a young family involved, it's really not a nice thing to see. And again, you can't imagine um, how scared that you potentially the family might feel at this moment. It's when you go to watch a game of football, I don't think you expect. I know that injuries are a part of the game. That just is what it is in elite sport. But I don't think you ever expect something as serious as that to come out of it. And it was obviously it was a big old hit against the post. But I don't think you would have come away from that thinking it was as serious as obviously it has turned out to be.
Yeah, yeah. And just for people who aren't aware, it was reported in the Daily Mail last night that he's been put in an induced coma ahead of further surgery today. I think it sounds like, and I'm obviously not a medical expert, it sounds like it's all part of a procedure and a plan along the recovery process for what he's reportedly done, which is a ruptured intestine. I mean, like you say, it's not something you could ever predict. Football is an inherently dangerous game at some point, and we forget like you'll have been in this position. There's a metal post in the ground, and sometimes you throw yourself at it. And I guess it just does it when you're in a player in that position. Does it just go out of your head that you could clatter into this thing at high speed?
I think look, I think if you actually watch it back, I don't think I don't. I think he's kind of tried to finish the ball in a way so he doesn't collide with the post. So he actually missed the opportunity because potentially bumping into the goal because you were just going to run into the post. But because of where he's then gone at such high speed and then he's collided with the Leicester defender, they've ended up both going towards the post. But again, you're not consciously thinking it, and obviously you've got goalkeepers who stand in it for the whole of the game, so they're very aware of where it is and not diving into it and things. So it's a part of the game, and it's just really sad that something as serious as this has come out of it. And I'm sure not all Forest fans, all people and football fans in general hope that everything's fine. And like you said, I think it's probably medical procedure now. It seemed to have been an emergency state at the time, but it seems to be that the medical procedure has put him in a better place. So fingers crossed that in the next 24, 48 hours, we hear some real positive news.
Yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully so. Obviously, I'm sure there'll be a lot of debriefs and analysis into all this stuff and what happened, and rightly so, in trying to stop it happening again. A lot of people point out the thing about not raising the offside flag, as is the protocol in the game now. From a player's point of view, would you like to see that rule changed, or is it just a desperately unfortunate situation and they should stick with it as is?
I think it's really tough because I'm probably going to contradict myself on it a little bit, but um, I've said ever since it's come up, something bad's going to happen. And I didn't expect it to be that situation, but I expected a 50-50 where a goalkeeper and a striker end up colliding, or someone's going to get seriously hurt because of the situation. So I'm when it's as clear as it was, I was sat at the City ground directly in line with the official and the place. And as soon as it was so obvious that he was offside, that for me, when it's that obvious, just put your flag up. Like, you're not making a mistake. It's that obvious. So for me, that should be done. Now, where I contradict myself is I think we should be benefiting the attacking team. So if it's a really close call and if they're through, I think it should be allowed to go on. So I contradict myself because we want football to be entertaining and everyone wants to see as many goals as possible. So it's how you manage that. I don't know if you're ever going to be able to stamp out situations where there's going to be 50-50s, there's going to be collisions, there's going to be people that get hurt. Unfortunately, it's part and parcel of a contact sport. But yeah, I think something does need to be brought up because I've watched lots of games throughout the change of the rules, and there's been so many occasions where I sort of wince a bit when you see it going through. And I know I speak to a lot of ex-players and players, and they all agree. They think the rule that it is, when it's as clear as it is, it's like, just put your flag up, just, and it stops anything. Because as a player, if that was happening, and fortunately, I didn't have to play when that was the rule, but you can see players stop and not play properly because they know it's offside. Like, if it's offside, just put your flag up, and then I think it'll stop a hell of a lot of it.
Yeah.
How the rule changes, I'm not sure.
No, and Taiwo might even have known he was offside, but he's still got to go through the process of trying to score a goal for his team and putting his body on the line. So it's another, rough situation all round, certainly. And like a lot of these situations, because it's a through ball, people are running at speed, a goalie's coming out at speed, and you end up with this. Or you can't predict these kind of injuries you get in a car crash. Pretty awful.
That one's a bit of a freak one. It is a bit freak, but the amount of times that you see the ball go through, and realistically, if you're breaking the offside line, you're going to be a 1v1 situation with the goalkeeper. That if you're offside, you're one-on-one with the goalkeeper. So if anyone, it's probably not the striker, it's more the goalkeeper that you're looking at, thinking goalkeepers are putting themselves at massive risk here, because they come running out and you've got two people running as fast as they possibly can, like you say, like a head-on car crash. That's what it is. And the goalkeepers, they can't back out of a tackle because they're the last person, so they have to commit to everything. And then it's up to the striker then whether they commit to it or not. And unfortunately, I've seen quite a few situations now where you're going, I'm surprised it took this long for something to happen, if I'm honest. I'm really surprised. And I'm sure there has been other situations where people have got hurt unnecessarily. And as much as we want it to be competitive football, and football is what everyone's going there to watch, like I think you said right at the start, we have to remember that there's people and families involved, that you don't ever want to see anyone come off that pitch injured or hurt.
A big shock to the dressing room as well, I guess. Players are so focused on results and process and everything like that, but this will be a jolt to the group of players as well, won't it?
I would imagine so, and again, I know we'll touch on these things when we go into the actual football talk. Something like this can potentially bring the changing room together, even though the changing room's as close as it can be at the club. From what you see and being in and around it, like, you've got such a positive environment within that changing room. So something like this can potentially actually give that little bit of adrenaline and energy to the group to do it for one of their own. So fingers crossed that it has a positive effect on the squad rather than a negative.
Let's do some football talk then. It always feels, I know people might be watching this and feeling it feels a bit crass to talk about something so serious and move into football, but I think we'll do our best to reflect that with Taiwo conversation and look at some football as well, which I know people are here for still. Forest v West Ham at the Trent Navigation. You can watch it on Sunday. It's televised on Sky. So get down. If you don't have a ticket to go to London, get down and watch the game at the Nav on the big screens indoors and out, and you can get your food there as well. And thanks as ever to the Nav for their support. You were at the Leicester game you mentioned there. Then, what were your thoughts on it? Did you see a slip coming, or did you think we'd win that game beforehand? Bit of hindsight here, but did you think we'd get through that one?
I think it's really hard for me because I live in Leicestershire. I'm from Leicestershire. I grew up around majority of Leicester fans, and I think everyone related to Forest will know the pleasure I had in scoring against them. They're a team that I always want Forest to do well against. I think it's really difficult because Leicester have got nothing to play for. There's no pressure on them whatsoever. They've been relegated. Really, they've had a really poor season and a really poor second half to the season. And it's easy for the outsiders and Forest fans and everyone to sit here and go, "Oh, well, Forest should win," and this, that. At the end of the day, Leicester are coming to upset the apple cart, and it's an East Midlands derby. Leicester dislike Forest. They're wanting to come and they're wanting to prove a point. So before the game, me being that Leicestershire guy, you sort of sit there a bit apprehensive, thinking, "Oh, I hope Leicester don't sort of put a bit of a bump in the road, really." So I was hoping that it wouldn't be the case. If you go into the actual football of the game, personally, people will have different opinions. Personally, I think Forest completely dominated the game. Forest were by far the better team. I was watching it when Forest were 2-1 up and Leicester were sat in a really low block, and I'm watching it going, there's no wonder why they're down there and doing what they're doing. If you're losing and you're just happy to sit in and just defend, I was watching it thinking, God, this must have been really painful for Leicester fans to watch for the whole season. Obviously, I think Murillo was a big miss as well. I think he would have brought a little bit more composure, maybe a bit more control at the back. So overall, when you're looking at it, you're going, you could see it being a potential banana skin, but on reflection of the game, I think Forest dominated and should have won, should have sewn it up. But then as soon as Leicester scored the second goal, I actually thought Leicester were the ones who looked more likely to score. If I was honest, they had a couple of opportunities where Forest looked a little bit open at the back. But for large majorities of the game, it was Forest were on top. They just didn't manage to see the game out, and it obviously puts a bit of a dent in what they're aiming for.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Especially as recent forms really slid. It's probably since that Everton game. I mean, it's not out of the question. I know it feels unlikely they'll make the Champions League, but 2 wins gives them a shot. Can you see them winning both games given recent form or not?
Again, West Ham are in a position where they've not got anything to play for. I've been there as a player where you've got a few games left and it's really, you're thinking about the beach. You're thinking about what's coming next. And as much as we all sit here and we say we're professional, you still give everything. But people are starting to wind down a little bit, especially in their position. Now, we can say whatever, they've obviously gone and beat Man United, but Man United might be on the same sort of thought process thinking about the Europa League final. So they might be just putting things aside and preparing for a one-off game with Spurs. So that might have been why that was a little bit of that scoreline. I have no reason. There's no reason why Forest can't go there and win. Look, they are where they are in the league for a reason. Forest, they deserve to be where they are. They've performed really well for large amounts of the season. So maybe, obviously we spoke about Taiwo at the start, maybe something like that might just sort of catapult the players in the right direction, and hopefully there'll be a positive result. And at the end of the day, it's 2 cup finals. You've got West Ham, go and beat West Ham, and then it's potentially in your own hands, because depending on other results, you might actually be in a position where if you win on the final day, Champions League is yours. So for me, no reason why they can't. It's obviously out of their hands a little bit now, and it's down to other teams to hopefully slip up. But when you get to this stage of the season, there's there's funny old scores and funny old results that happen. So hopefully someone's watching down on Forest and they sneak in.
I think the consensus amongst fans is like almost exclusively, no matter what happens now, the season's been a great success. We've got European football. How will players in the dressing room view that come the end of the season? Because you're all elite athletes, set high standards. Will they be happy with Europe, or will they deep down be disappointed if they don't get Champions League? They couldn't get it over the line.
I think come the final whistle against Chelsea, if they don't reach the Champions League, I think there will be disappointment within the room. But I think on reflection, a few days later, I think there will be a real sense of pride around the club, fans, staff, players. I would imagine there'll be a real sense of pride of how well they've done, because as we've seen, the bottom three have gone down the last 2 seasons for however many years now. The bottom three are generally the ones, or the promoted teams, sorry, are the ones that end up being the bottom three. And you look at how well Forest did for the 2 years prior to keep themselves as a Premier League club, and then to go on and progress like they have. I think everyone has to reflect on that and say what an amazing achievement the club have done. Both people at the top, the staff, everyone involved in all from promotion up to staying in the Premier League, and obviously all the players and the staff that are there now. And I think, as disappointing as it may be for everyone, I think on reflection, you look at it and you go, what a massive achievement it is. And again, hopefully it still goes the right way and we still tip in. But if they don't, do you know what? You have to applaud the players, applaud the staff, how much time and effort they've put into it. Had a really good cup run as well, competing with the best teams in the country. And Forest have every right to be in those conversations.
Do you have a view on Europa League versus Conference League? Does it make a big difference when you consider, I guess Europa League has obviously more money, but teams like Milan and Porto might be in it. The Conference League has certainly lesser teams, but more chance of winning this, as Chelsea probably will do, or they've got a good shot. Would you be bothered if it's Europa League or Conference League if they don't make Champions League?
Look, again, if I put my player head on, you want to be playing as high as you possibly can, and you want to be competing against the best teams, the best players in the world. So, look, everyone, we all know it gets said out there, if the Conference League and you talk about the Mickey Mouse Cup and all that, does it really matter? Well, look what it brought to West Ham. Like, that they go and win something like that. It's a trophy, and it's a major trophy to aim for. So, look, if you end up in there, you end up in there. But also the Europa League, I think there would still be, I think there would be a little bit more excitement with regards to the Europa League, because there's potential of drawing some bigger teams and getting those away trips you've mentioned, like Milan and stuff like that. You might get a really nice draw away at AC Milan and something for the fans to all enjoy. But again, doing the Conference League, there might be something a little bit different to challenge you with. And then again, it's been so far, it's been quite a breeze for Chelsea. So I don't think I think obviously you prefer to be in the Europa if they don't get the Champions League. And I think that speaks for itself, doesn't it? Champions League, you want to be there. If not, Europa League. If not, you've got another one to go into. So look, positive all round. And I think everyone needs to put their last decade head back on and go, look at where we've been, look at what we've been through, the struggles in the Championship, just surviving, scraping through, to be having these conversations where you're beating Liverpool, you're competing with Man City, all these big teams who are spending all this money. You're in the same conversations, and it's an amazing achievement in such a short period of time as well.
True. Let's talk a little bit about you then, away from Forest. You hung up your boots officially a year ago. I think we were allowed to say that you now work for a team down the road. But how's it going for you coaching? Is it under 14s?
Under 15s, yeah. So head coach for the under 15s. Look, it was something that when you're a player, you always know it's going to come to an end at some point, but you never expect it to come. You always think you're going to carry on and carry on. And look, for me, I've always said I want to stay in football. It's all I've ever known. I left home at 15 and I started doing my coaching badges towards the end of my playing time. And now I'm as fully qualified as you can possibly be, bar one. So I haven't got my pro license, which is, I think you have to be invited onto. And you sort of probably only really get on it if you're working for a first team in the EFL or the Premier League. So I'm as qualified as you can possibly get. I put a lot of time into it. I'm still really passionate about football, and at the minute I'm really fortunate enough to be able to pass on my experiences and knowledge to the next generation of players, and I really enjoy it. So under 15s is my main role. The club have been really supportive with me to go in with the under 18s and under 21s as much as I can, and they see that I bring big value to that age group. So that's ultimately, I want to be a first team manager. That's where I'm aiming for, but I also don't want to rush it because I've got a small family of my own, and I enjoy having that time at the minute to be around, seeing them grow up and do their things as well. So whilst I'm working really hard and investing my time into my coaching, I also want to be that family man for a short period of time before the stresses and the strains and the pressures of first team football come around. But look, I could get a phone call tomorrow and that could change my opinion, and everything could change, and hopefully I feel like I'm in a good place for that. Hopefully that time comes soon.
Was there a point where you thought football might not have a place for you anymore? Because I know you were, you left Northampton, you had injuries. Did you think football has lost its love for you in a sense at one point?
I think so. I think ever since dropping out of the Championship, so I left Ipswich. I think it was 2015. I think. Ever since then, I felt like my career sort of dropped a little bit from a footballing point of view, from a playing point of view. And you do feel like, oh, why is this happening to me? And you know what? I look back on it now and I'm so proud of what I did. And you always come off the end of playing and regretting and thinking, did I actually reach my maximum potential? I never got to play in the Premier League. I believe I should have played in the Premier League, but I didn't get there. And then you end up playing in League One and then drop into League Two. And maybe having a little bit of a disappointing end to your career, but to play 400 odd games across professional games, and then fortunately for me, I ended up dropping down to Step 5, playing for my local team, Melton Town, which I sort of made a promise to them years back. And for me, it was a really proud moment to play for the town I was born in. Obviously, I wasn't born in a city like Nottingham, and Nottingham like Forest wasn't my team. So to actually play for my hometown and hopefully have left a bit of a place for the club there. It's a really thriving club. I still have lots of connections there. I'm really proud to have finished at my home club, despite it being as low as it was. But I made that choice to play that low rather than doing the National League and like Conference North and all of that. I made the decision to go lower because I wanted to give back to my town, and they were also really respectful of what I'm doing from a coaching point of view, and they gave me an opportunity to be a coach and an assistant manager there whilst playing, along with doing all my other coaching at other clubs. So it was good to answer your question. Really, it was good to be able to go to my home club. I think really gave me that love and realization that football is what I want to do and be around. But I know I've gone off and spoke loads about it. But when I was coming out of the professional game, there was a little bit of what do you do next? A bit of uncertainty, and then obviously you've got a family, so you're thinking about how are you going to make sure you're supporting the family. And there was other considerations, and I did a little bit of work alongside my dad and things just to keep ticking over. It's It's a bit of a labouring job, so it was nice to just keep fit and keep mentally sane doing something. And there was certain things of other career paths that I thought about going down, and then I think the realization as you come back that I feel like I've got so much to offer within the world of football. The amount that I've done and achieved, I believe like I want to pass that on to the next generation. And again, I'm really fortunate to be able to be living that for now. But you never know. Like I said, if you end up getting a first team job, you could be in it for 3-4 months and then you're out again. So I'm sure that crossroads will come again at some point. And hopefully that's not anytime soon, but I'm sure that crossroads will come, and you might have to make a decision on maybe doing something away from football. But right now I'm all in. I'm putting everything into it and investing a hell of a lot of time into being the best person, the best coach I can possibly be, to get as high as I possibly can in the coaching world.
Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. We shall leave it there, but just before we do, a quick word for our second sponsors, Vesta Blinds. If you're looking for new shutters or blinds made to measure anywhere across Nottinghamshire, or maybe touching into the East Midlands where Paul lives, if Mrs. Anderson or Mr. Anderson are looking for blinds or shutters, do check that out. Right, slightly toned down and shorter episode today because of all the Taiwo stuff. So we'll end by wishing Taiwo well, obviously, and hope for positive news on that front later today, going into the week before we return tomorrow. Right, Paul, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, good to have you on whenever. Hopefully get you on soon. I have tried. Paul is a super busy man. I've tried to get him on a few times, but he's one of the busiest men in football, certainly. So yeah, hopefully have Paul back on soon. Enjoy your day, everyone. Get well soon, Taiwo. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.